He got medically cleared for the flight the day of the flight. He was amazing.
The world was stunned when news broke of rock legend Ozzy Osbourne's tragic death. For weeks, his daughter Kelly Osbourne remained silent and retreated from the spotlight as millions mourned. Now, for the first time, she is ready to speak.
I'm so much like him. So how could I ever be mad at him? I am him.
With a heavy heart, Kelly reveals the truth about her father's final days. The pain she has carried in silence and the deep bond they shared behind closed doors. Her words are raw, emotional, and unfiltered. This is not just a tribute. This is Kelly Osbourne's powerful and deeply personal account of love, loss, and saying goodbye. A childhood shaped by chaos and love. Kelly Osbourne was born into a world most people only see on magazine covers and television screens. As the daughter of rock legend Ozzy Osbourne and media powerhouse Sharon Osbourne, her life was surrounded by fame, cameras, and constant public attention. From the outside, it seemed glamorous. People saw red carpets, luxury homes, and celebrity-filled parties. But behind the scenes, Kelly's early years were anything but glamorous. Her childhood was filled with instability, unpredictability, and emotional turmoil that few could imagine. Growing up, Kelly lived in more than 20 different homes across the United States and the United Kingdom. These constant moves were not just random choices. They were often forced by her father's demanding music career, his heavy touring schedule, and the chaotic lifestyle that came with being part of one of the most famous families in rock history. These frequent relocations left Kelly with little sense of stability or permanence. She was never in one place long enough to build strong friendships or develop a consistent sense of home. Just when she started to settle in, it was time to move again. Her father's career also meant long periods of absence. Ozzy was often on the road, performing in front of sold-out arenas, chasing his dreams and battling his demons. Back at home, Kelly and her siblings were left in the care of nannies and other staff, many of whom were not equipped to handle the responsibility of raising children. Some of these caretakers left scars that Kelly still carries today. In interviews, she has recalled being force-fed food she didn't want to eat. She remembers being locked inside closets as punishment, left alone and frightened. These were not just passing childhood memories. They were traumatic experiences that followed her into adulthood. Adding to the emotional strain was Ozzy's well-known and very public struggle with addiction. Although Kelly has said that her father never directed his outbursts at her personally, the environment at home was often tense and unpredictable. There was a constant undercurrent of fear. No one knew when things might explode or how bad they could get. Even in those darkest times, though, Kelly never stopped loving her father. That love was deep and unwavering. "There were hard days," she once said in an interview, "but I always knew my dad loved me. Always." Kelly's unshakable bond with Ozzy would later make his death even more devastating, and her eventual public reaction to it all the more heartfelt. This complicated and often painful childhood created deep emotional layers within Kelly. The chaos became normal for her, shaping how she saw the world and how she saw herself. Still, in a strange and unexpected twist, that very chaos eventually found some form of structure through reality television and ushered Kelly into the spotlight in a way no one saw coming. The Osbournes, fame, family, and finding her father. In 2002, American television audiences were introduced to something completely new when MTV aired the first episode of The Osbournes. It was one of the very first celebrity reality shows of its kind, and it gave viewers an up-close and personal look into the chaotic, funny, and unpredictable lives of rock legend Ozzy Osbourne and his family. At the time, reality TV was still a fresh concept, and no one had ever seen a show quite like this. It was raw, unscripted, and unapologetically real. The show didn't follow a traditional format with challenges or competitions. Instead, it simply followed the daily life of the Osbourne household, with cameras filming everything from family arguments and pet disasters to heartfelt moments and quiet reflections. The show quickly became a cultural phenomenon. People were fascinated by the contrast between Ozzy's dark, heavy metal image and his often confused and gentle behavior at home. Sharon Osbourne, always strong and outspoken, was seen as the glue holding the family together. Kelly and her brother Jack brought youthful energy, attitude, and plenty of drama to the screen. Their fights were loud and frequent, but so were their moments of laughter and genuine love. Viewers were drawn to the authenticity of the show. The family didn't pretend to be perfect. They swore, they argued, they cried, and they laughed. And people loved them for it. One of the most talked about parts of the show was the constant chaos involving their many pets. Dogs barked during serious conversations, cats roamed the kitchen counters, and nothing ever seemed truly under control. But that was the charm of the show. It felt real in a way that most television didn't. Another memorable moment came when Kelly and Ozzy had a serious conversation about love, heartbreak, and growing up. Ozzy, who was often seen as distant due to his past lifestyle, appeared vulnerable and honest. That moment struck a chord with fans and gave them a glimpse into the true bond between father and daughter. The show ran for 4 seasons and aired its final episode in 2005. During its time on air, the Osbournes won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Reality Program and became one of MTV's most successful series. But while the fame it brought was massive, it also came with a cost. Living life on camera wasn't always easy. Every argument, every mistake, and every emotional moment was captured and shared with millions. Kelly, who was still trying to find her own identity, had to grow up in the public eye. For Kelly, though, the biggest impact was personal. For the first time in years, her father was not constantly on the road. He was at home. And even though there were cameras everywhere, it meant she got to spend real time with him. The filming brought them closer together. They were able to talk, laugh, and build a relationship that had always been interrupted by touring schedules and addiction battles. That time became incredibly meaningful to Kelly, especially years later when her father passed away. The connection they rebuilt during those years on camera would become something she leaned on during the darkest period of her life. But when the cameras finally turned off and the world stopped watching, Kelly was left with a difficult reality. She had grown up in the spotlight, shaped by the Osbourne name and everything that came with it. Now she had to figure out who she was outside of that world. Stepping out, Kelly's career and her father's steady support. After the Osbournes came to an end, Kelly began to focus on building a life and career outside of her family's reality TV fame. She wanted to be more than just Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. She was determined to find her own voice and prove herself as a serious artist and personality in her own right. Her first step was music. Back in 2002, Kelly had released her debut album titled Shut Up. The album reflected her punk-inspired style and attitude at the time. Although it received mixed reviews from critics, it marked the beginning of Kelly's journey into the music world. Then in 2005, she released a second album called Sleeping in the Nothing. This project had a more polished and personal sound, with songs that dealt with mental health, body image, and emotional pain. The album gave fans a deeper look into Kelly's struggles and growth. One of the most emotional moments of her early music career came when she recorded a duet with her father. Together, Kelly and Ozzy covered the classic song Changes by Black Sabbath, Ozzy's original band. The song became a massive hit and reached #1 on the UK singles chart. It was not just a chart success, it was a deeply meaningful collaboration between father and daughter. Their voices blended together in a way that felt natural and full of love. For many fans, it was a rare and touching glimpse into their personal bond. As time went on, Kelly began expanding her career beyond music. She entered the world of fashion and television, where her bold style and outspoken personality found a new home. She became a co-host on Fashion Police, where she gained a reputation for her quick wit and fashion insight. She also appeared as a judge on Project Runway Junior, offering advice and encouragement to young designers trying to make their mark in the industry. In 2009, she competed on Dancing with the Stars, surprising many by making it all the way to the finals. Her performances showed a new side of her, one that was determined, disciplined, and emotionally open. Through all of these ventures, her father remained her biggest supporter. Whether he was sitting in the audience, waiting backstage, or sending her messages of encouragement, Ozzy made it clear that he was always in her corner. He celebrated her victories, comforted her during disappointments, and reminded her that she was never alone. His presence gave Kelly a sense of safety and confidence that helped her push forward, even when the spotlight felt overwhelming. Fame came with pressure and judgment, but knowing her father believed in her gave Kelly strength she often kept hidden from the public. But behind the success and new opportunities, Kelly was facing deep personal challenges. These struggles would eventually test the strength of her relationship with her father in ways neither of them could have ever imagined. Shared darkness, addiction, illness, and unbreakable bonds. Kelly had struggled with alcohol and drugs since her late teenage years. It began gradually, almost quietly, but over time it took hold of her life in ways she never expected. In 2004, she entered rehab for the first time. At the time, she was still young, and many thought it would be a one-time ordeal. But addiction is rarely so simple. Over the years, Kelly relapsed more than once. Each time she tried to rebuild her life, addiction pulled her back in. She spoke openly and honestly about her battles, refusing to hide the truth from the public. She wanted people to know what addiction really looked like and how it could affect anyone, even those who seemed to have it all. "Addiction is a liar," Kelly once said during an interview. "It tells you you're alone when you're not." Those words stayed with many people. She knew how addiction worked. She understood the voice in your head that told you no one else could possibly understand your pain, and she fought that voice every day. Kelly worked hard to stay sober, but it was a lifelong fight, not a quick fix. There were times when she got better, and there were times when she struggled again. Still, she kept showing up. She kept trying. She kept going back to treatment when she needed help. While Kelly was fighting her own battles, another storm was quietly building within her family. Ozzy, who had spent decades performing on stages all over the world, was beginning to face serious health issues. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a condition that slowly affects movement and causes physical decline. On top of that, Ozzy underwent multiple spinal surgeries, and his body began to show the weight of years spent living a loud, chaotic, and physically demanding life. The man who had once been known as the Prince of Darkness was now struggling just to move without pain. Throughout all of this, Kelly never left his side. Even when her own world was in pieces, she stayed close to him. She cared for her father with a quiet strength that many people never saw. She sat with him during long hospital stays. She helped him through physical therapy. She made sure he was never alone, even on his hardest days. And Ozzy, in return, offered her something no one else could. He understood pain, he understood fear, and he understood how it felt to fight something inside you that wanted to destroy you. They leaned on each other. They didn't always need words. They simply knew. Their relationship, once marked by fame and chaos, had deepened into something solid and unbreakable. But no amount of preparation or support could cushion the blow of what came next: saying goodbye. On July 22nd, the world said goodbye to a true legend. Ozzy Osbourne, the godfather of heavy metal and one of the most influential figures in rock music, passed away peacefully at the age of 76. He was at home, surrounded by his family in his final moments. The official statement released by the Osbourne family described his passing as peaceful and dignified. Sharon Osbourne later shared that Ozzy had been battling a series of ongoing health challenges and had recently taken a turn for the worse. Despite his struggles, he remained strong until the very end. News of Ozzy's death spread quickly, sending shockwaves across the globe. Within minutes, social media was flooded with messages of heartbreak, love, and gratitude from fans, fellow musicians, and public figures. Tributes poured in from every corner of the music world. Artists from Metallica to Post Malone shared memories and photos. Paul McCartney called Ozzy a trailblazer who changed the face of music. Elton John said he had lost a dear friend and one of the most electric performers to ever live. Younger generations of artists who had been inspired by Ozzy's fearless style and dark charisma also posted moving messages. In cities across the world, fans created impromptu memorials. Outside the legendary Rainbow Bar and Grill in Los Angeles, Candles and flowers lined the sidewalk. In Birmingham, Ozzy's hometown, murals appeared overnight. A growing crowd of fans gathered in the streets there, singing songs from his days in Black Sabbath, as well as his solo career. Across Europe and South America, fans held their own candlelight vigils, showing just how far Ozzy's impact had reached. Ozzy's funeral was a private affair, attended by close family and longtime friends. The ceremony was simple, intimate, and filled with emotion. According to those present, the service included several of Ozzy's favorite songs, both from his own catalog and from artists he admired. Sharon, his wife of over 40 years, gave a heartfelt eulogy. His children, Amy, Kelly, and Jack, shared personal stories that highlighted not just Ozzy the icon, but Ozzy the father and grandfather. Kelly Osbourne played a central role throughout the service. She remained composed, despite clearly being overwhelmed by emotion. After the funeral, a massive public tribute was held outside the venue. Thousands of fans gathered, many wearing Ozzy t-shirts, holding up handmade signs, and blasting his music from speakers. A large video screen played clips from his concerts, interviews, and behind-the-scenes moments with his family. Kelly stepped outside several times to greet the crowd. She waved, smiled faintly, and placed her hand over her heart as a sign of appreciation. She was dressed entirely in black and held her young son, Sidney, close to her. The bond between Sidney and his grandfather had been one of the most cherished parts of Ozzy's final years. Kelly had often shared photos and moments of the two together, and seeing Sidney at the tribute added another emotional layer for fans. The public mourning was intense and widespread, but what came next was something nobody expected. It would become Kelly's most vulnerable moment yet. "It's way worse than I thought," Kelly's emotional first statement. Kelly finally spoke out for the first time since the heartbreaking death of her father. After days of silence and mourning, she opened up through an emotional and deeply personal message posted to her Instagram stories. Her post was simple but powerful, accompanied by the haunting Ozzy track, "See You on the Other Side," a song that felt like a farewell. In her message, Kelly began by admitting how hard it was to find the right words. She said she had tried many times to write something but kept starting over. She wrote, "I've sat down to write this 100 times and still don't know if the words will ever feel like enough. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you." Her words were a heartfelt acknowledgement of the overwhelming love and support she had received from friends, fans, and strangers alike. Kelly continued by expressing how much the messages and kind words meant to her during such a painful time. She said, "The love, support, and beautiful messages I've received from so many of you have truly helped carry me through the hardest moment of my life." She didn't try to hide the pain she was feeling. Instead, she was open and honest, which made her message even more powerful. She explained how grief had caught her off guard. She said it wasn't just sad feelings, it came in waves. It was confusing. It was unpredictable. "Grief is a strange thing. It sneaks up on you in waves. I will not be okay for a while. But knowing my family are not alone in our pain makes a difference," she wrote. One sentence, shared not in writing but in a later conversation, revealed just how deeply Kelly was hurting. "It's way worse than I thought," she admitted. "I knew it would hurt, but this is something else. I lost my hero. I lost the one person who could always calm my chaos." Those words captured the rawness of her grief in a way that many could relate to, but few could truly understand unless they had gone through it themselves. Kelly then opened up about the special bond Ozzy had with his grandchildren, especially her young son Sidney. She described one of her favorite memories of her father. "Every night he crawled into their bed for cartoon. It was the sweetest thing ever." It was a glimpse into Ozzy's softer, more loving side. It was not the wild rock star that the world knew, but a devoted grandfather who made time to connect with his family. She ended her post with a promise to her father. "I'm holding on tight to the love, the light, and the legacy left behind. I will make you proud, Dad." It was a promise filled with emotion, strength, and a sense of responsibility. It showed that even through the pain, Kelly was determined to honor her father's memory and carry on the legacy he had built. The public response to Kelly's message was immediate. Fans around the world reached out again, this time not just with condolences, but with admiration for her honesty. Many said they felt her words deeply. Some shared their own stories of grief, while others simply offered their support. Kelly's message reminded everyone that grief is not something that fades quickly. It is something people carry, and it becomes a part of them. Now, Kelly faces a new chapter of her life, one without her father's voice on the other end of the phone, one without his presence at family dinners or bedtime routines with her son. But it is also a chapter where she carries his name, his music, and his legacy forward. Carrying the torch, the future of Kelly and Ozzy's legacy. Following the heartbreaking passing of Ozzy Osbourne, Kelly has quietly stepped into a role that few could take on. She has become seen by many as the unofficial torchbearer of his legacy, a responsibility she never asked for, but has not shied away from. In the middle of her grief, she has spoken publicly about how deeply her father's memory and impact mean to her and her family, and fans believe she may continue to play an important part in shaping how that legacy is remembered. It has been suggested that Kelly could take steps to ensure Ozzy's philanthropic work continues, since he supported a number of causes throughout his career, often quietly and without seeking attention. Speculation has also emerged that she might help oversee the release of Ozzy's remaining unreleased music and unfinished creative projects. These songs and materials, if indeed they exist in finished form, would represent something fans have never heard before, and many believe Kelly would want to ensure they are shared in the right way and at the right time. Beyond these possibilities, some believe that Kelly is considering developing a deeply personal documentary about her father. According to this view, such a film would show a side of Ozzy Osbourne the public rarely, if ever, had the chance to see. Most people know him as the wild, unpredictable frontman of Black Sabbath or the reality TV icon from the Osbournes, but Kelly has hinted there was much more to him than what the cameras ever caught. Her goal, if such a project moves forward, would be to give people a look at the father, not just the rock star, to highlight the man who gave her advice, made her laugh, and taught her how to be strong. Rather than being just another celebrity tribute, this would be a daughter's mission to tell the fuller story of the man behind the music. For fans who thought they knew Ozzy, such a documentary could reveal something entirely new. While much of this remains in the realm of speculation, those close to Kelly agree on one point. She is deeply committed to honoring her father's memory in whatever way she chooses, and the love and emotion driving that effort are undeniable. What do you think about Kelly's relationship with her dad? Feel free to share your comments with us in the comments section. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.